What is up, everybody? Welcome to my first video on this channel. And as I have said in the past, this channel will be all about sports, all about UK, football and basketball, Cincinnati Reds baseball, stuff like that. You may notice a watermark in this video that won't be there for long. But at any rate, we are going to get right in to the subject of this video, Kentucky's 2021 recruiting class, which I believe personally is a really good one. I think they filled a lot of holes. I think that they got a lot of players that can develop in the future. And who knows, hopefully one of them at least will become the next star at Kentucky. So we're going to start with the early enrollees. I will be using 24/7's ratings. But the first early enrollee is also the highest rated, and it is Yeager Burton out of Frederick Douglass High School in Lexington, Kentucky. He is a 6'4", 271-pound offensive guard. He is rated 138th in the country. Number 10 at his position, number 1 in the state of Kentucky. And he looks like he is going to develop, honestly, to me, more into a tackle. But he very well could be the next guard to make some waves at Kentucky. He is, I believe, played tight end earlier in his high school career. Has a lot of athleticism for the offensive line. He looks like a really good all-around player for the O-line at Kentucky. The second early enrollee we're going to talk about is Chauncey Magwood. He is a wide receiver out of Leesburg, Georgia. Went to Lee County, high school. He is 6 foot, 187 pounds. He is a higher 3-star, ranked 544th in the country, 86th best wide receiver in the country, and the 42nd best player in Georgia. I haven't got to scout him a lot, but from what I've seen, he does have some speed. He also has some pretty nice hands. So we'll have to see how he develops. The third one that we're going to talk about is Jordan Lovett. And if I mispronounce any of these names, I apologize. But he is a 6'2", 195-pound safety out of North Hardin High School in Radcliffe, Kentucky. He is the 689th rated overall player in the class, number 54 at his position, and number 6 in the state of Kentucky. He looks like he could be a really good defensive backfield player for Kentucky, whether that be free safety or strong safety. He's got nice height. He's definitely got a frame that can hold a few more pounds. He could definitely, in my opinion, develop into either safety role. The next one, I don't know a lot about this kid. His name is David Wallaba. I could not get a lot of information on him. He is out of Walsh Jesuit in Stowe, Ohio. 6'6", 280-pound offensive tackle. 758th in the country, 63rd at his position, and number 30 in the state of Ohio. He looks like he might be a year or two starter at the offensive tackle position, just from what little bit I have seen on him. He's got that big, classic offensive tackle frame. And I think that he could start at right tackle and then work his way over to the left side of the line. The fifth early enrollee we're going to talk about is Lavelle Wright. He is a 6 foot, 204-pound running back out of North Hardin, Kentucky. He is number 840 in the country, 46th best running back, and the seventh best player in the state. He is, I think, a little underrated. I don't think that he's going to come in and set the world on fire his freshman year. Definitely a redshirt candidate, especially with the depth that we have in the backfield. But definitely a player that I think can develop. Next player we're going to talk about is Kaya Sharon. He is a 6'3.5", 195-pound pro-style quarterback out of Somerset. 913th in the country, 34th at his position, and number 8 in the state of Kentucky. I've seen a bit of film on this kid. He looks like he can make a lot of throws. I don't know how his decision making is because I've been able to find our highlight films, and they're not going to put bad plays on there. But from the throws that I've seen him make, it looks like he's got, I would say, good arm strength. He throws a really nice looking deep ball. If his decision making is there and he can get the ball out on time, he looks like he could actually be a nice quarterback down the road for Kentucky. The next kid is going to be a cornerback out of West Bloomfield, Michigan, Maxwell Hairston. I don't know a lot about this kid. He's 6'1", 175. I do remember whenever he committed to Kentucky, there were some people that were excited about him. He is, according to 24/7, the 944th best player in the nation, 80th best cornerback, and the 24th best player in the state of Michigan. He's got that classic size that Kentucky likes in their cornerbacks. That taller, the taller cornerback. He's got a little bit of speed from what I can remember. He could definitely fit into a nice role at Kentucky in the defensive backfield. The next one might be my favorite player from film, and it's going to sound funny, but it's Wilson Berry, a punter from Australia. He is the 12th best punter in the country. The 9th best player, I guess, from Australia. He can boom the ball. The ball comes off his foot in the same, what it looks like on film anyways, is the same way that it comes off of some of the better kickers that we've had here. It definitely looks like he's going to be a really nice punter for Kentucky, possibly starting next year. Now the next player is one, he's not an early enrollee. That's the end of the early enrollees. But this kid was a shock to me. I didn't think he was going to end up at Kentucky. I've watched his game film basically since I found out that we actually had a legitimate chance at him, and he looks scary on film, including on the offensive side of the ball. Now he's going to play defense, it looks like, at Kentucky, but he definitely looks like he could play either way. It is Trevin Wallace out of Wayne County, Jessup, Georgia. Inside linebacker, 6'2", 209. The 140th best player in the country, the 9th best at his position, the 15th best player in the state. And honestly, if you watch his film, and I strongly urge you to, you'll like this kid a lot. He not only plays like a monster on defense, he plays like a monster on offense. I mean, he looks like he could be a legit SEC running back at Kentucky. uh, and maybe even wide receiver. I mean, he's quick, extremely fast for his size, for the position that he plays. He has good hands as a as an inside linebacker. He could really be scary for opponents. He could really be scary for opponents, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him get some early playing time. The next player was probably the one that excited me the most until Trevin Wallace. He's a four-star wide receiver out of Frederick Douglass High School in Lexington, going by the name, I believe it's pronounced DeKel Crotus. He's 5'10 and a half, 165, 298th best player in the nation, 49th best wide receiver, number 3 in the state of Kentucky. He is. I honestly think that he may end up being the best wide receiver in this class, and there are some good ones in this class. But if you haven't watched his film, he's another one. Go watch his film. He is very, I would say, very, very fun to watch on the field. The next player is going to be Christian Lewis out of Pleasant Grove, Alabama. He is another wide receiver. He is another 4-star, 6'3", 190, 345th best player in the nation, 55th best wide receiver, and the 11th best player in the state of Alabama, according to 24/7. He is somebody that has decent speed, and I broke down his film quite a bit as well. The biggest thing I think that he needs to work on is getting off of physical press coverage. But he looks like if he can get everything down and work on a couple of things, he looks like he could be a really good wide receiver as well. Looks like he runs really good routes. But I think that as a wide receiver class, this might be the best wide receiver class Kentucky's ever had. Next player in the class is another one that I was pretty hyped about whenever we got his commitment. It is Jordan Dingle, a tight end out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. 6'4", 235 pounds, 483rd best player in the country, 21st best tight end, 4th rated player in the state of Kentucky. He is a 3-star athlete. He looks like he could be a great tight end at Kentucky. Not a good one, a great tight end at Kentucky. He has a lot of physical skills. At one point in the recruiting process, I believe he actually was a 4-star. But as it stands now, he is a 3-star in the class. But he looks like he could absolutely do some damage, especially across the middle. But I believe that he will have the ability to stretch a defense as well. Good hands. Seems to be a really strong kid. He could be a matchup nightmare at some point. The next player we're going to talk about is going to be Martez Thrower, an outside linebacker out of Wilcox County in I think that's Rochelle, Georgia. 6'1", 220. He is a 3-star prospect. 620th overall in the country. 40th overall at his position. 50th in his state. I've not seen a lot on him, except for I remember some people saying that he would be a pretty athletic outside linebacker. But a lot of it's going to come down to how he develops, which that's going to be the same with any of these kids. Any kid that you hear me talk about, it's all projection. It's really going to depend on how they end up developing overall. Next player is going to be Jamarius Dinkins out of Walnut Ridge, Columbus, Ohio. He's a defensive end at 6'6", 255 pounds. 678th rated prospect in the country. He's a 3-star, 42nd overall at his position, 25th in the state of Ohio. 6'6", 255 coming out of high school. You can't teach that. And there's a lot of kids in this class that are coming out not needing to add a whole lot of size to be able to contribute to the team. He's one of them. The next player as well, Khalil Saunders, out of Grissom High School in Huntsville, Alabama. Another defensive end, 6'5", 260. Very similar sizes. We'll have to see how they develop, but I think that could be your bookends on the defensive line for, 4 years, 3 or 4 years after maybe red shirting, maybe not. Both 3-star players. As I said, Dinkins is 678th in the country. Khalil Saunders, 813th in the country. Dinkins is 42nd best defensive end, whereas Khalil Saunders is the 53rd. Dinkins is 25th overall in the state of Ohio, whereas Saunders is 35th overall in the state of Alabama. Looks like a really good pair of ends for Kentucky. Paul Rodriguez, this kid looks like, from a physical standpoint, I think he could put on the pads and start from just strictly from his size. He could start for Kentucky tomorrow. 6'5.5", 305 pounds. That's big as an offensive lineman coming out of high school. He comes out of Mason, Ohio, and William Mason High School. He is the 836th ranked overall player in the country, 75th at his position, 37th in the state of Ohio. He is he's a grown man. Physically, he is a grown man. And if he develops the technique and continues to build on his strength, you can't teach size. You cannot teach size. Just like speed, you can't teach speed. And he's definitely got plenty of size. Next player we're going to talk about is Adrian Huey out of Hillsboro High School in Nashville, Tennessee. 5'10.5", 160-pound cornerback. Rated 862nd overall in his class, 73rd overall at his position, and 23rd in the state of Tennessee. He's a shorter cornerback. I think that if he, especially if he plays early, it'll be more as a nickel. But the kid definitely has some skills, and I think could develop into a nice cornerback. I'm really, really excited about this class, in case you couldn't tell. The last player was a surprise. I think that he is very highly underrated. He is Devontae Ross, 6 foot, 170-pound athlete. And from what I've been told, he's being recruited to play wide receiver at the state of Kentucky. Comes to us from Cartersville High School in Cartersville, Georgia. He's not ranked by 24/7 nationally. He is the 82nd best overall athlete and 106th best player in the state. This kid has serious speed. I don't know what his 40 time is. I don't know what he's clocked in the 100 meters. I'm telling you, he's fast. I've watched the film. He looks quick. Looks like he's got good hands. I don't know how his route running is. I'm sure that he has some areas he needs to develop. But just as far as pure speed, he's got it. And at 6 foot, he's by no means a small wide receiver. I think he can contribute early, especially on special teams. But I think even just getting the ball in open field. And I think that he could actually be a really good player for Kentucky. Um, but some of the bigger news in this cycle are not just the recruits out of high school. We did end up, I guess, officially as of yesterday, with um, our fourth transfer. Um, I'm going to start with the first one that we found out about in December, which was Justice Dingle. He's a defensive end coming from Georgia Tech. It is Jordan Dingle, the tight end's brother. 6'3", 250 pounds. He was, depending on where you looked, he was either a 3 or 4 star prospect coming out of Bowling Green in high school. He is now ranked a 3-star by 24/7. But he is somebody that I think will either fill in at defensive end or he will fill in at linebacker and give the team some immediate help. He's a good looking prospect that could definitely help the team right away. I'm going to skip the next one in their list because that's the one everybody wants to talk about. We're going to move to Luke Fulton, 6'3", 215-pound inside linebacker, transferring to us from Michigan State. He was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. He was recruited to Kentucky out of high school, ended up picking Michigan State over Kentucky, and he looks, you put the kid in shoulder pads, he looks like he could play. Has a lot of skills, and I think he's another one. I don't think Kentucky's going to be short on linebacker talent for the next 3 or 4 years. We're going to go with the quarterback next, who transferred to us from Penn State. His name is Will Levis, or Levi's, I'm not sure. 6'4", 222-pound pro-style quarterback. Funny enough, he was used as a running quarterback at Penn State. But if you find his videos of him throwing, I've never seen a release that quick. There's not a whole lot of time from when he starts the windup to the ball being out. Looks like he's got a really good arm. I'm not sure about accuracy or any of that, but he was a 3-star prospect coming out of high school. And looks like he's going to give our new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, another viable choice in the quarterback room. So we'll have to see how that goes. The last one we're going to talk about, everybody's saying it's a coming home party. Wan'Dale Robinson, 5'9", 175-pound wide receiver, was committed to Kentucky out of high school, and then ended up switching his commitment to Nebraska. There were some thoughts to what happened there. I don't know what happened, but I'm glad that he's back at Kentucky. At 5'9", 175, extremely quick, extremely agile. He's the kind of player that you just get the ball in his hand and watch him go to work in open field. He's an electric athlete. We'll see what he does at Kentucky along with the rest of the kids that we've talked about here. But there's a lot of talent in this recruiting class. And that's not something that you could say in years past. Mark Stoops, I believe, has done a very good job of going out, filling needs, getting talent, building the team the right way. Now, he's had a few years of success in a row now. including a big time bowl win over Virginia Tech. The big bowl win this year over NC State after a slightly disappointing season, although I wasn't as disappointed in it as a lot of people were. You play a 10-game SEC schedule. That's going to be tough on anybody, unless you're, Alabama. Even big schools like LSU. There were other schools in the SEC that nobody expected them to have problems. Had some problems. But I think that Stoops is going about the building this program the right way. There's a lot of depth, and when you build with depth, you're not going to see a big drop off. He's getting kids that a few years back you would have never thought Kentucky would get, such as Trevin Wallace, such as DeKel Crotus, Christian Lewis, Yeager Burton. There's a lot of talent coming to Kentucky, not just in this recruiting class, but in recruiting classes past. We are beating out schools. I mean, Trevin Wallace alone, he was committed to Auburn. And after Auburn got rid of their defense coordinator or linebackers coach, caused him to decommit. He had offers from Florida State, Illinois, Auburn, Boston College, LSU, NC State, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida. Or no, he didn't have one from Florida. But I mean, he had offers out from a lot of schools, and he ends up coming to Kentucky. That right there, in my opinion, says something. And he's not the only one that's like that. I mean, DeKel Crotus had offers from Auburn, Baylor, Cincinnati, Florida State, Louisville, Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, Penn State, Tennessee, Texas. I mean, we're not beating out smaller schools for recruits anymore. We're actually beating out some of the bigger schools for some of these kids. And it's something that for a long time, as a lifelong UK fan, I never thought I'd see, so I'm really happy to see it. As I said, there's a lot of talent coming to Kentucky, and in this recruiting class alone, that really gets me excited for next season. I'd really like to see which of these recruits actually makes an impact next year. I do think that Wan'Dale Robinson will most definitely make an impact next year. It wouldn't surprise me to see either Luke Fulton or Justice Dingle make an impact next year. DeKel Crotus wouldn't surprise me. Wilson Berry, the punter. There's a lot of kids coming in that I think could most definitely make an impact. I mean, Wilson Berry, if he does end up starting next year for Kentucky, he'll be replacing one of the best punters that we've seen at Kentucky in Max Duffy. Now, I don't know if Duffy is leaving yet. I have not heard. I know any of the players that played this year have that option to come back and play another year. We've seen some of the seniors say they're going to take advantage of that and come back. We'll have to wait and see. Because I believe there's still a few that haven't made that announcement yet. But there's a lot of talent there that excites me. And we'll just have to see exactly who makes the impact, who can step up But I definitely believe that a lot of the recruits definitely have a chance to do so. But that being said, we are at the hour mark. I'm going to go ahead and cut this stream, and hopefully we'll be back on possibly Tuesday, but we'll just have to wait and see, guys. Have a good one. Catch you on the next.